We are going to do Cycle 1 Science Week 15. We're going to do number 128 from our Van Cleve's book, and it is about prints. We are going to learn about fossils, and we're going to make our own fossils today in class. So the supplies that you'll need are your Week 15 bag from your science bins, and what you have in here is, we have the modeling clay, which we're going to use, which looks like this. We have 9 paper plates that the kids are going to need. We're going to have some petroleum jelly that you have, some jelly, a spoon, some mini cups to mix in, seashells for our clay fossils, the plaster of Paris, which I'm going to go into in a minute. I will bring some water from home for you, and then, like I said, your little mixing cups. So you'll just need to bring your tutor script from home, and I will bring you the water, and also the kids are going to need hand wipes. So what we're going to talk a little bit before we get into this, we're going to make clay, and just a special note that when working with plaster of Paris to make our fossil, this cannot go down into the drain, obviously. So when we're using this, you don't want kids to inhale it, obviously ingest it, but you don't want to be smelling it and that kind of thing. And then anything that we make needs to go in the trash. Nothing goes down in the drain. So when the kids are done, if they get some clay on their hands and that kind of thing, or they get some of that on their hands, they'll use hand wipes to wipe their hands off so that they don't get anything in the drain. And then everything just goes in the trash. So what we're going to start out with talking about what are 3 kinds of rocks, and this is from week 14, and you can sing the week 14 song, and we're just going to go into a little bit about the 3 different types of rocks, and then we're going to talk about fossils, and we're going to talk about the different types of fossils as far as trace fossils, and what kind of fossils that we're going to make for our class today, during our class today. The experiment is quite easy, and our purpose really is just to demonstrate trace fossils and how that they were preserved. So another thing that you'll be able to note in here is just the difference between body fossils and trace fossils, and oftentimes body fossils, if you find like an animal or something that actually died into a like petrified wood or fossilized amber, and then you're able to see the actual fossil of the body. And a trace fossil is if you just have like the footprints of an animal, and then that gets fossilized, and then you have a trace fossil of the foot of the animal, so not the actual animal. So today we're going to do trace fossils of a seashell. Research. We're going to talk about, talk with the kids if you learn anything about fossils or about scientists who studied them. Just kind of brainstorm everything that they know about fossils. Have fun with that. Your hypothesis. What do you think a mold of our shell will look like in the clay that we're going to make? What do you think a plaster cast that mold will look like, the poured form? Do you think it'll be like 3D? Do you think it'll be like a stamp, like an ink stamp, 2-dimensional? Just kind of think through during the hypothesis of what do you think this fossil will look like. The experiment itself is we're just going to take a piece of clay. So from here, a piece of clay, you're going to give a piece of clay to each of the kids. They don't need a very large amount. A small amount is fine. You can kind of figure it out. But this is going to be for both classes, I think. I'll have to check and see if there's another bag for the other class. I think each tutor has they might have 2 bags actually. There's 2 bags, so there's a lot of clay here, so you can, they can be able to use as much as they want, but they don't really need that much because they just need enough for to make the clay to put the fossil or the seashell in. So you're gonna take a piece of clay about the size of maybe a lemon and put it on a paper plate, and then you're gonna rub the outside of the shell with the petroleum jelly. So you're gonna rub the outside with the petroleum jelly just so it sticks nice and easy. And when you have your clay on here and you've flattened it, you're gonna put the seashell into the clay. You're just gonna press it down, and then you're gonna remove the seashell so that you can see the imprint of the shell that remains in it. So you're gonna notice, notice with the kids and observe that we're just making an imprint fossil, and we're not actually fossilizing the seashell. So they're going to do that. You're going to take these little cups and you're gonna mix 4 spoons of plaster, so 4 spoons of this with 2 spoons of water. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2. These seem small, but that's what we got. So I'm assuming that this will be enough. These cups will be big enough. Wonder if I should try it. So 1, 2, actually these are kind of small, 3, that is kind of small. So I will bring bigger cups. Yeah, I'll bring bigger cups so that you can actually mix, unless they only did 1, 2, and then only did 1. The best way to do this as well is just to pour it like a spoonful and then stir it together. And when you stir it, it's gonna, see how you can, I don't know if you can see, there's like little smoke and stuff, so don't have the kids inhale it. But when you stir it, you're gonna see it's gonna like thicken, and you probably can't see it, but it thickens. Actually, you don't have to do 4, then you can use these little cups. You could easily do 2, that'll be enough. And if it's gonna be kind of thick, and if you think it's a little thick, you could just maybe put a little drop of water back into it, and then kind of get it a little softer consistency. And then once you have that, I put a little too much water, but once you have that, you have your mold of your shell. You're just gonna spoon this, you're gonna take the shell out and you're just gonna spoon it into the mold in the clay of your shell. So that's all that's for. And then it's gonna take about, for this to dry, it's gonna take about 15 to 20 minutes, maybe less. So what you may wanna do is just take just a regular piece of paper and just write your students' names on it, and then put each of their fossiled thing on it while it dries, so that while it's drying, you won't forget whose is who, so that they can bring it home. So that is all the experiment is. When you're done with this, remember, it does not go in the drain. It just gets thrown in the trash, which is fine. When you're done with this, you have plenty of it. We don't need it for anything else, so if you want to take it home for something, you can take it home, or just throw it away. We don't need it. So that's it. They'll each be able to make their own little fossil. Then when you're done, because that won't take super long, you can just kind of talk about your conclusions. And your conclusions will really, and your observations, you know, what is the pattern, the shape, the face of the shell was left in the clay. How similar is the fossil to the original is a good observation. Is there anything that is not similar? So when we're looking at fossils, how certain can we be that they're similar to the original? And then you can just talk about, you know, there's a whole paragraph here that you can read to the kids about different types of fossils, different how paleontologists, you know, gather and excavate and dig up and do all this kind of stuff with different fossils. So you can read that to them. And then you can also, if you have time, you can go into, there's kind of talking just about the flood and a little bit about just all the fossils and the flood and how amazing God's creation is, that the flood was able to preserve so many things for us. And it isn't just, fossils are actually really great evidence of the flood in the Bible, and how we noticed that water was necessary to make that. And so when water mixed with mud and certain things, and when it rained, you know, it created fossils really quickly. Some fossils take, you know, years to fossilize, but some of them don't take long at all. And so there's a whole thing here just about the flood and how it created so many fossils, and really how it proves how the flood happened instead of disproving it, and just the time period and that kind of thing, and just how amazing God's handiwork is all around us, and how we can interpret things and the things that we see, and just to have this evidence of God's creation from years ago. So that's about it. Super simple. And then if you have any questions, let me know.